Hey guys, welcome to a brand new episode of Draconius Go. Today we're doing the big one thing that I was massively after, and I hope a lot of you guys probably are too. This is the max CP of all creatures. It also gives us speed of their attacks, it gives us EPS and DPS, everything that we need to know to determine the best. Now their rate actually says is rated by max CP, and what we'll be looking into is one point is that even though some of the CPs are higher, there may be times where having a better moveset and having better EPS might actually make a bigger difference and make that creature better. So we'll be looking into that. Now this information, as I gathered looking at Reddit, it actually came from Eliland. It was requested and Eliland provided this information, which is awesome. I'm so glad. I mean, I didn't need to like go through loads of hard avenues to try and work it out. It's just nice in there, and why not? You know, it's not exactly like this information doesn't harm people. If anything, it motivates us to go after certain creatures. Leviathan, totally need that guy. So we're going to be going through all the element types. I'm going to be going through the top 3 of each element type and be talking about them individually, and then we'll probably go through like a comparison of all together and see who I would say is the best, and let's see if Leviathan is top. So let's get into it. So let's start with air types. We have Charybdis at the top sitting at 3,500 max CP, then Bayesian at 3,300 and Griffin at 3,000 CP. Now Charybdis, every creature by the way has 2 possible quick attacks and 3 possible charge attacks. So for Charybdis we have Electric Shock and Waft, and we have Roundabout, Aurora, Wind, Recharging. Roundabout is the killer single bar move and it does 5.56 damage combined. So the way it's worked out is it takes the damage stat of that attack and adds that to Roundabout. What this doesn't take into account though is something really important, EPS, which determines how quickly your charge bar charges up. You have higher EPS, you're going to charge that up quicker, and you're going to be pulling that Roundabout. Roundabout has, on my Bayesian, 240 attack. My quick attack is 80. So you're going 80, 80, 80, and then you pull a 2,240 attack. It's going to be interesting to see how they compare. If you think about it and you have, you have Electric Shock, which takes 1.1 seconds to cast. Roundabout takes 2.5 seconds to cast. So in theory you can cast 2 electric shocks doing 81 damage, let's say, so that equals 162, and then you got your Roundabout which takes 2.5, you've got 0.3 seconds left, but that will do 240, so you're doing a lot more damage. If you're charging up faster, it's I've got to work this out, but today we're just doing max CPs, but I'm going into detail around EPS in another video at a later date. So Electric Shock has 1.12 EPS in comparison to Waft at 1.07. Looking at the EPS and DPS difference, Waft has a DPS multiplier of 1.42, whereas Electric Shock has only 1.19, therefore Waft will probably do more damage, whereas Electric Shock has a 1.12 multiplier on EPS. I think the difference between them will probably make Waft the better moveset to have, so Waft and then Roundabout is probably what you're looking for on Charybdis. Next up we have my beautiful cat, that is Bayesian. This guy is a monster with 3,300 CP. So for Bayesian you have 2 movesets possible for quick attack, and that's Dragon Sight and Range of Wind. If we quickly compare them, the damage is lower on Range of Wind, the damage multiplier though is higher on Range of Wind, so it comes out as a stronger attack. And look at that cast speed, 0.57 seconds compared to 0.95 seconds. You're almost casting it, you're just shy of casting it twice within the time that it takes Dragon Sight. Just over what we're looking at 1.14 seconds compared to 0.95. So that's a lot of times you're going to be casting it. It doesn't have the higher EPS though, so it's going to take you longer to be able to charge up your bar to pull off that Roundabout. When you look at these charge moves that use, by the way, ENG stands for energy, so that uses 50 energy, so that's 2 charge bars. If you look at them in comparison to those single bar stats, you'd probably expect that the single charge bars of 3 would take the same time to cast as a large charge move, but they don't, you know, nowhere near. 1.8 seconds to charge one that requires 33 energy. that's why single charge bar attacks are so much better. Finally, in third place we have Griffin at 3000 max CP. He is a strong creature with Rage of Wind, Shock Therapy as his quick attacks, and Roundabout. He sits at 5.23 combined damage as a base stat for those for Rage of Wind, Roundabout combined. Now Roundabout, is just a killer. Now when we compare Rage of Wind with Shock Therapy, we have a bigger damage multiplier, better EPS, and a shorter cast time, and which makes it way better than Shock Therapy. So that is definitely the moveset you're going to be wanting to go for, no doubt. Next up we have Arcana types. These guys are really strong. We have Morgoroth sitting at 4000 CP, which if you think about that in comparison to the air types is a huge CP difference. Then we have Manticore at 3800, and in third place we have, surprisingly for me, Curly at 3500 CP. Comes out better than Rosebud. Both are evolutions, the fourth stage, but they are different in CP by 200. Morgoroth is the champion of this type though. We have 4000 max CP, huge. And backing up with that, he has Eye of Horror and Wrath of Arcana, combined 5.77 damage. When we look at the damage multiplier, Wrath of Arcana is by far the strongest charge attack for Arcana types, so that's a beast move that you want for him. Then we have Eye of Horror compared with Cawdor's Arcana. Higher stat of damage in Eye of Horror. DPS multiplier is slightly lower though in Eye of Horror. EPS is slightly higher in Cawdor's Arcana, and the cast time is only a small difference. So between them, I'd probably say they actually sit around about the same, because if you think about the damage multiplier, 1.47 takes it slightly higher than Eye of Horror potentially. The EPS means you're going to be charging that Wrath of Arcana more. There's very little difference. The cast time is 1.03. When you compare that to the wind types, who had that 0.6 something cast time, it's a long cast time in comparison. 2.5 is the same as the Roundabout move there as well though. In second place is Manticore. I love this evolution stream. Cutie Cat into Mantikid into Tigermant and then into Manticore. Eye of Horror and Wrath of Arcana is the best moveset. Eye of Horror and Cawdor's Arcana again. So there's very little difference again in cast time, damage multiplier, and EPS. So I don't think there's too much of a difference if you've got either type as well. So not a massive difference between those two types if you've got them. In third place we have Curly, who I actually picked up and I've been showing in my weekly roundup of my week, which is a very interesting catch, you'll see. 3500 CP. It has a different moveset in the quick of Sphere of Peril and Empiricanus. Not as high on the damage output at the base stat, but if we can, so you can see Sphere of Peril is 1 damage, Empiricanus is 0.4 at base, both with the same DPS multiplier. However, Empiricanus has 0.7 seconds cast time, whereas Sphere of Peril has 0.83. And has a higher EPS on Empiricanus, so you're going to be casting that Wrath of Arcana potentially more often. Those two again probably, as you know, they're balanced out nicely with the EPS and cast time. They probably work around very close together, so they're not massive difference between Sphere of Peril and Empiricanus on that moveset. Next we go to Earth types. Not a massive strength in CP here when you compare them to Arcana types. 4000 was the max for Arcana, 3000 is the max CP for Earth types with Scylla, then 2800 and 2500 for Yogi. Now Scylla is a lovely dragon that I've got and I hatched from an egg, and the best move set with the charge is Acid for sure. That's the one you're going to be wanting to go for. Then we have a comparison between Rock and Nature's Shadows as its quick attacks. 1.2 damage as Rock and 1.01 damage for Nature's Shadow. Nature's Shadow only has a tiny difference in DPS multiplier, probably not strong enough to make it stronger, but it has a 0.7 cast time and Rock has a 0.86 cast time. Now these cast times are really important when you think about when you're attacking or being attacked. If you're attacking, if you think about your PvP play, when you're playing against somebody and they've got fast attacks coming at you, it's really difficult to dodge. When they have a long cast time, you can pretty much sync up in dodging their attacks and hitting. And so The lower attack, I imagine the ones that have a shorter cast time are probably stronger and better in PvP, better defending gyms. Whereas the higher damage output probably are better in attacking scenarios. Second up is Grendel, which is the evolution from Disquia into Troll into Grendel. It has Tree Ghost and Rock as its quick attacks, and Swirl of Stone, so no acid attack, meaning it has a low base damage of 4.83 combined, those two attacks. Tree Ghost is meant to be the better attack because there's damage attack of base of 1.45. It has a huge DPS multiplier of 1.71 when you compare that to Rock of 1.42, which is still a fair DPS multiplier. And they both have the same cast time, which just goes to show that Tree of Ghosts is by far the better moveset. So we see some movesets where there's very little difference, but here's a huge one. 0.97 in EPS as well, just to kind of rub it in for Rock. You want to be going for Tree Ghost for that moveset for Grendel. In third place we have Yogi. Now Yogi is the evolution from Philo, which is probably the cutest creature in this, right? Evolves then into Deo and then into Yogi. Nature's Shadow and Pebble as the quick attacks. Nature's Shadow has a 1.01 damage attack compared to Pebble's 0.92, which makes it stronger. Again, no acid attack, meaning it has Swirl of Stones, which is a weaker charge move when compared to acid. If you look at Nature's Shadow, it has the higher DPS multiplier, making it even stronger. It has the same cast time, and it has higher EPS, meaning that is a very clear winner of the best moveset that you want for that creature. Next up we have Fire. We have Smorg in number 1, Picaroon and Salute in 3. Again, not massive CPs when compared to Arcana. 3,500 is the max for Smorg, Picaroon and Salute. So max will always be 5 and 5. We don't know the influence of the hidden stats of attack and defense. I predict that they're not an influence, and therefore if you have a 5-5, you're probably going to be closer to that 3,500 CP. You might not be there at max level because it may be that your 5-5 is 4.85 and therefore it's just rounded up to 5 if that's the system that it's working by. So Smorg has the best charge move of Armageddon and Fire Sphere, which gives it a base damage of 5.58 combining those two attacks. Damage is 1.33, I'm making it stronger than Fire Thrower. It has higher DPS, you need more damage. It has a slower cast time though, and it has less EPS, so you're going to be charging up more with that Flamethrower. But the damage output is pretty high in comparison to Fire Thrower, and it probably does quite a bit. And if you compare to Armageddon, 1.05, you're going to be casting that 2.5 times every time for that Armageddon, pretty much just short of it. Next up is Picaroon, the evolution from Needle Shot into Filibustus. This guy has Armageddon, the best charge move. I faced him in PvP. Oh no, Wild Encounter. His Armageddon just destroyed me, even though I had a water type. Coal, 5.66 combined. Shooting is 5.1. Shooting has a weaker base damage compared to Coal. It does have the higher DPS, which probably doesn't make a massive difference when you compare them. But the biggest difference is cast time. Look at that cast time, 0.5 seconds. I've faced this. It's almost impossible to dodge. And the animation doesn't look like you can dodge it as well. So it has slightly smaller APS, but when you compare these two, I would say that shooting is probably the better one. Definitely if you're going for a defensive setup, because you're not going to be able to dodge this. 0.85 times 1.7 DPS multiplier. It makes it one of the best casting attacks and makes dodging really difficult. So I would probably take shooting in favor of Coal, even though it has the better base damage. But you could go with the other side. And I don't think there's a massive difference in damage output between the two. In third place we have Salute. Evolution from Spark into Blaze and then into Salute. It also has Armageddon, so it has that high charge attack, Fire Sphere and Living Flame. When you compare them, there's not much massive difference between base stat. 30.33. Fire Sphere has a massive DPS multiplier compared to Living Flame though, and it doesn't take that much longer to cast, only 0.06 seconds more. And then you see the EPS is higher, so again another clear attack where quick attack you want to be going for Fire Sphere, don't be going for Living Flame. And then finally, the big one, we have water types. These guys have the highest CP. They're huge. 4,200 for Leviathan, 4,100 for Neptune, and Armor rank has 4,000 CP. So they just The others just pale in comparison in terms of CP stats. But how do they shape up when you look at movesets in comparison? We have Leviathan, which has a max CP of 4,200. It has 2 attacks, Splash and Wave. Now Splash is the best quick attack, and Power of Ice is the best charge attack. So first of the water types is Leviathan. 4,200 CP makes him the highest CP in the game of all the creatures. He has Splash and Wave as his 2 quick attacks, and then Power of Ice. Combined, Splash and Power of Ice do 4.24 at base damage. Splash has a 1.43 damage per second multiplier. Wave has 1.3. They both have similar EPS, Splash being just the higher. Splash has a quicker cast time than Wave by just 0.03 seconds. Splash is basically better than Wave in all areas. So if you compare this to some of the other water types, you can see that its base damage is 0.99. But look at that cast time, 0.69. So you're going to be casting it a lot quicker than some of these other moves. When we look at second in the water types, it is Neptune. Now Neptune has 4,100 CP. He has different movesets in his quick attacks. He has Rainfall and Sea Hammer. When you look at that combined with charge, it gives a base damage of 6.04. So it looks like it is really strong, and it is a huge damage, 1.78. But that cast time is slower when you compare it to the other attacks. So Splash has a 1.7 DPS multiplier. It is a better move than Rainfall overall, probably. It has higher damage base, higher DPS multiplier, and higher EPS, only getting beaten by 0.6 seconds, 0.06 seconds in the casting time. So Rainfall is definitely the move you want to be going for with Neptune. Rainfall, Power of Ice. And finally, we have Armor Rank. Armor Rank sits at 4,000 max CP. He has Splash and Power of Ice as his best moveset. Also Wave, exactly the same as Leviathan. So you probably want to be going for that Splash moveset with Power of Ice. They've all got really powerful charge moves. Power of Ice is the strongest charge attack that you can possibly get. So the best water type is Leviathan, the best wind type is Charybdis, the best fire type is Smorg, best earth type is Scylla, and the best Arcana type in terms of CP is Morgoroth. But I do wonder how they compare in battle when you take into account other factors such as the attacks. So Eye of Horror, Morgoroth's best move, has a cast time of 1.09 seconds, and then it combines with Wrath of Arcana, which has 4.25 base damage, taking 2.5 seconds to cast. So if you compare all the best charge moves, they match up. They all have that 4.25 seconds to base damage, 1.7 seconds, 1.7 times DPS multiplier, and 2.5 seconds to cast. So the higher CPs will probably beat those where there isn't a type advantage. When you look at the quick attacks though, there is a lot more variety. They all probably sit around the same level because they try and balance them out with better DPS and worse EPS, better times multiplier and worse DPS multiplier. So they're all kind of balanced out in their moveset. When you compare the quick attacks, so taking the damage in comparison to the cast time, so we've got 1.09 seconds on 1.52. They don't massively differ when you look at other attacks. So we've got Splash and Wave. Both have 0.9, so lower damage, but they have a quicker cast time. And you can see that across all the types. So if we look at Smorg, who has Fire Sphere, and the cast time is 1.04 seconds, and Flamethrower 1.04 seconds, 0.85 seconds to cast. So when we look at CP, Leviathan is the best on CP. Water types appear to dominate in max CP overall. Arcane is probably next, then Air, then Fire, and then Earth sits very low below all those. So there isn't a massive balance there. But obviously this can be a game of rock, paper, scissors. You know, if you're going rock, one day that will beat scissors, but one day you'll get put up against paper and you're going to lose. And if you go in with a team of Leviathans or water type, and I pull a team of wind type to, you know, be that piece of paper to your rock, you're going to lose. And so that adds a really nice factor for the game, is that max CP won't dominate. and we may see some balances. And also I think it's a factor of knowing the best movesets going in there, because you could beat Leviathan. If somebody goes in with Leviathan and they have Wave Whirlwind, they're doing 2.5 damage at base. So Wave at 0.95 doing cast of 0.72 seconds. So you're probably going to get 3 damage every 2 seconds. Power of Ice, if you're going to go in with Whirlwind, you're going to be doing a lot less damage than that that charge move. That's where there's going to be a massive difference. So if you go in with a Leviathan, even if you've got max CP with Whirlwind, you're going to get beaten by a Morgoth that has Wrath of Arcana, because the damage output 4.25 compared to 2.35, and look at the cast time is the same for that, and it requires 50 energy for Curse. 2.35 and then takes 2.5 seconds, and then we've got the bottom Wrath of Arcana 4.25 seconds, 5 seconds to cast, exactly the same. So know your best attack moves, get training up those libraries and retraining for those best movesets for those, and you'll be fully equipped to take down those PvP battles and hopefully some future battles. I would love to see a tournament in this game, you know, a proper PvP, not simulated. There was a question about whether a PvP is simulated in this game, and I think they confirmed on Reddit from what I've seen is that it's simulated and you're battling an AI. If it wasn't, they would be dodging all the time, and they're just not, are they? But they're given names, they're given teams, and you know, you look at teams that do a lot, like, you know, in Pogo I used to be like put Ditto 88 IV, and you see a lot of that in the game type, suggesting it's probably not an AI. And they actually, somebody tested it on Reddit with somebody, and they found the username of the person who had that account and actually linked up with that person. Well, they confirmed that that person wasn't engaged in PvP battle at that time. It was his account. So it's a simulated AI using another person's account to battle with. That's how it works as far as we know at the moment. So hopefully that will help you guys out in knowing what the max CP is, who to be going for. You definitely want to be going to Leviathan, Morgoth in Arcana. Just those war times are huge. Neptune. It seems like there's a trend towards the higher the ID in the bestiary, the better that it probably is. Not always necessarily true though, as we see in your obviously 122, so those pre-evolutions won't be higher, but the final evolutions just tend to be higher, and that max CP chart. So if you just kind of want to use that as a quick referral guide, do that. Okay, well that's all for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. As always, any questions, pop them below and I'll do my very best to answer them. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button and hit subscribe if you want to keep up to date with future information. That's all for me. See you soon.